that Deanna and Mike, and we'll introduce Mike in a second, from NJEA will be presenting later. Due to time restraints, I will not be able to answer all questions at this venue, I'm sure, because it's pretty long what I have to tell you. Therefore, I will not answer any questions. I will not answer any questions that do not pertain to the topic of this venue. I kindly ask that you take unaddressed questions to your building reps, who will in turn contact me. Next to last, but through the request of many of our members who are not able to attend, we will be videotaping the presentation for the possible post on the members-only section of our BellevilleUnited.org website. Okay, so we're going to be videotaping this just so that, you know, those who were not able to make it today, they can actually find out the truth. Before I begin, I'd like to quickly introduce the representatives that we have. Our Uniserv rep, Denise Policastro. NJEA Communications, Christy Canopy. And Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn and everyone would like to give you just guys a short introduction of who they are.
I'm going to stand over here if you can hear me, if that's okay. My name is Denise Policastro, and I am your NJEA Uniserv rep. And what that means is if you have a situation, if Mike has a situation, if the BEA has any types of concerns, problems, they funnel those questions to me at my office. My office is in Livingston. So your representative, well, in Livingston we have 3 Uniserv reps that represent all of Essex County. And one of my locals is your local, the Belleville Education Association. And through what I hear, I try to solve problems, help fix problems, file grievances, file arbitrations, work with our attorneys if we need to pursue legal matters. And then I also can coordinate other divisions of NJEA, and that's when Christy and Mike come in. And just so you know as well, there's 3 people standing here today, but you have an army in NJEA ready to work for you. And you will see an increased presence from us. And I know a lot of you have seen a variety of us at different meetings, but you will see more of us. And we are constantly keeping our colleagues informed as to what's going on here as well. Because what's going on here is not normal. And what's going on here is setting a precedent for other districts. And other superintendents and boards are watching you to see how is this association going to react. And it's really important for us to be Belleville United, that we are one association and that we're working together. So if I may, I'd like to introduce Christy Canopy, and she'll just give you a quick sum up of what she's been doing for the BEA.
Hello everyone. As they said, my name is Christy Canopy. I'm from NJEA Communications. I'm based out of Trenton. There in communications, one of our responsibilities, among others, is to work with local associations on both their internal and their external communications needs. So my role has been, since Denise brought me in and working with your local leaders, to find ways in which we can do a few things. We can increase your online presence. We can increase your communications among our members. We can reach out to the community, and we can prepare you for anything that comes your way. So when we attend board meetings, when we start to network, when you see reports in the media, NJEA Communications has been involved in that. I just want to say on a personal note that I have just loved working with Belleville. And the reason is, I've worked with many local associations around the state in the last 7 years that I've been with NJEA. And everybody has a different set of problems. And as Denise had indicated, your problems are very unusual. However, I have yet to come across, okay, as a former teacher and former local leader myself in Somerset County, I see and I know a lot of what you are going through, but I have yet to come across an organization that is so determined to not fall or to be cowed by the tactics that this district is employing. So you should take a great amount of pride in what your executive committee and your leaders are doing, because I can tell you that in other places around the state, it wouldn't be nearly as successful. You wouldn't have been able to stop it. And so we're going to continue to work for you. We're going to continue to put those messages out there. We're going to continue to make sure that everyone knows what's going on here in Belleville. We've started a little bit. If you haven't visited njea.org, your story starts, your first in a series of stories has started on the homepage. You're in the reporter, and we will continue to market your story for others because, as Denise had indicated, everyone is watching very closely. And if Belleville United and BEA falls, then it's going to be very easy for other local associations to be facing the same sorts of issues. So again, through Denise, I can provide assistance, and thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Mike. And my name is Mike Flynn. I'm Associate Director of Government Relations at NJEA. I'm a lobbyist for NJEA. First of all, I can't believe that we are recording this because you know how many times my boss will say to me, "Would you wear a tie when you go to meetings?" And now I always tell her, "Don't worry, I always wear a tie." That's terrific. Thank God I have a jacket on and I don't have sneakers. But I first was involved in Belleville prior to coming to work for NJEA when I worked on some congressional campaigns for Herb Klein, Bill Pascrell many years ago. You have an interesting town when it comes to politics, to say the least. And you know, I'm keeping copious notes so that I can start the TV series a year or two from now on this whole thing. But there's one thing to remember. As loud as these people are, your opposition, as vindictive and as petty as they are, you are better than them. You are more respected than they are in the community. You hold a higher standard when it comes to your work and when it comes to your personal lives than they can ever hold. So your leadership here has been absolutely outstanding. My role at NJEA has been to work with our elected officials who, some of whom no longer represent Belleville. However, they have a lot of political ties to Belleville. Wherever I go and whomever I talk to politically wise, I always talk to them about what's going on here. When I talk to Senator Ruiz, who wrote the tenure law and the changes, we tell her about what's going on in Belleville. When we talk to legislators who, and people at the Department of Education who write these regulations and they think these grandiose schemes about, you know, evaluations and park and all these wonderful things at this level, when the rubber meets the road, we talk about Belleville and the effects that it's having on members and on students. So, you know, I have got to know Mike and Deanna and your leaders here very well, and whatever I can do, and I will continue to work, whatever it is that you need from me, just don't tell my boss that I wasn't wearing a tie.
All right, before I start, I just want to point out, although I've had the pleasure of working with Christy and Mike and Denise, I've also been in the with the exec committee for 5 years now, worked with a couple different UNISERV representatives, and I have to say, I cannot let this meeting go by without saying that you have the most wonderful UNISERV rep that you could possibly have. Intelligent, on the ball, witty, you know, really, I can't talk enough about Denise, and I'm not saying that because she's in the room, but I've worked with other ones. So, cares, on, like I said, on the ball. You need something, she's there for it. She knows what's going on. We could not have been blessed. I think the stars are aligned, and we're in the position we are in now. And like I said, it's a godsend. And I thank you, Denise. I really do. Okay, I'm going to start with a timeline. So I was told I have to do a timeline, so I'll do a timeline and a little caption. All the events that you're going to hear right now are all true. Okay, there's no embellishing of anything. There's no lying about anything. Everything is all true. okay? So you got it from the horse's mouth right now. This is what you guys wanted, so this is what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to start with October 25th, 2013. Vice principal of the middle school issued me a letter of reprimand for inappropriate conduct and conduct unbecoming of a staff member. The allegation was that on October 16th, you got to pay attention to dates now, about 9 days earlier, I engaged in a conversation with one of my classes about the surveillance system. He at no point discussed the incident with me. In fact, the letter was given to me in a closed envelope and no further conversation took place. I'm giving you facts. I'm not giving you any of my own opinions on things. I'll give those to you in the end. All right? On November 12th, you have to follow the timeline. So we just went from October 25th to now November 12th. The association filed a level 2 grievance on my behalf, stating the administration violated due process in that no discussion occurred before disciplinary action was taken. So remember, I was handed a letter and this is it. There's no discussion, no, hey, what's your side? None of that. One day later, November 13, 2014, the VP called me into the office to discuss withdrawal of the letter of reprimand. It was suggested I stop, quote, busting balls, and if I step away from the association, there would be something in it for me. Mind you, I have proof of everything I am saying. Needless to say, I replied that I cannot be bought. I will never be bought. I am here to tell you... I am here to tell you that on several occasions, similar offers were brought before me and I rejected them all. On November 19th, 2013, during our weekly meeting, Superintendent Feldman stated that she wanted to withdraw the letter of reprimand of the conduct unbecoming we're still talking about, but was advised by the Board of Education attorney, Al DeMayo, that I would have to withdraw the grievance first. And I would have her, quote, I would have her word that she would pull the disciplinary letter from my file. I told her that the process requires a resolution to be written, stating the removal of the letter and the grievance is withdrawn upon my acceptance. That's the process of grievance. That's how it works. Okay? Whoever the grievance is against writes a resolution, and then once they write that resolution, if that resolution is accepted, the grievance is gone automatically. Superintendent Feldman was not satisfied with that process. I asked if she was suggesting that the incident merely disappear. And she stated she wasn't willing to withdraw the letter any other way. Currently, this grievance is in arbitration. And this is important to know this because this is going to come back later in the tenure charges. So keep this all in mind. And I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but it's what you wanted. On December 9th, 2013, I spoke on behalf of our association at a Board of Education meeting concerning the surveillance system and the misappropriation of money. After my presentation, a parent of one of my students addressed the board about her concern that I did not return her call in which she stated was 6 days. On December 10th, 2013, at 8:00 a.m., that was the next day, I spoke with this parent, and we cleared the air. I can assure you that the idea of me not calling back in 6 days never even came up. It was very amicable conversation. Nothing stemmed anything out of the unusual. Actually, a very pleasant conversation as I usually have with parents, and as my past history says I have with parents. And, you know, as far as I thought, that was it. We were done with that. On December 12, 2013, Superintendent Feldman forewarned me that she spoke with the parent and that before she left for vacation, she wanted to tell me that a middle school administrator was going to talk to me about the parent complaint. She also stated it was not going to be disciplinary. I questioned why she or no one else ever approached me about it, and she said, "Don't worry, talk to the administrator. You can tell them about what happened." So we're going to backtrack a little bit. That was December 12th. December 20th, 8 days later. Principal of the middle school called me into her office and again, with no discussion, handed me an envelope with a letter of reprimand. That's how we do it now in Belleville. We never used to do it that way, but now that's how we do it in Belleville. An envelope. The envelope, please. I asked again if anyone was willing to listen to what I had to say, and I was told she was carrying out a directive from the superintendent. At the time, I felt targeted by the administration, so that afternoon, a guidance counselor, a representative, and I proceeded to hold a conference call with the parent. So everyone knows a conference call, right? It's speakerphone, it's not? Okay. On January 2nd, now I'll tell you about, I can't get into particulars about that conference call, but like I said, there were two other people in that room, and again, a very amicable conversation, and the conversation went wonderful, and we once again, just like the first time with the same parent, we thought it was resolved. We thought everything was resolved, and we were going to, move on from there. On January 2nd, 2014, the first day back from Christmas break, at 8 o'clock a.m., I was called to the superintendent's office and was handed a letter. No, I'm sorry, I was called to the principal's office and was handed a letter to report to the superintendent's office with the representative. Now, by the way, I should have been going through this, but this is all the paperwork, so we have everything I have is documented. So we're now on December 2nd, okay? I'm sorry, January 2nd, excuse me, January 2nd, yes. So this is the letter that I received from the administrator, from the principal. I reported to the superintendent's office with a rep, and I was handed a letter stating that I was suspended effective immediately, with pay for a parental complaint pending further investigation. Again, no discussion. Mind you, the superintendent was on vacation the entire break and had told me that she just got back the day before. So I don't know where the investigation happened, but it didn't happen in this state. All right. Okay. At that time, I informed Superintendent Feldman that although I was suspended from the class, I would still continue my role as union president. And she and Mrs. Cummins confirmed. Okay? Again, I had a representative in that meeting, so the representative was there to hear that. Everything is confirmed. On January 8th, 2014, I was served with tenure charges at home. Okay. Tenure charges. We're going to be open and honest here. I'm going to read you the tenure charges right from the tenure charges so you know I'm not lying. Charge 1, unbecoming conduct, harassment of a student and or a parent. Harassment. Charge 2, unbecoming conduct, conduct unbecoming to intimidation. Charge 3, unbecoming conduct, conduct unbecoming discrimination. Charge 4, conduct unbecoming violation of the HIB, which is the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Okay? So, to sum this all up, one conversation with 2 witnesses and a parent resulted in me being accused, with 2 witnesses there, one of the witnesses being the HIB advisor for the school, mind you, that I harassed, intimidated, and bullied this parent, her child, and I guess everything else that went with it. Okay? On January 9th, I held a meeting with Superintendent Feldman concerning union matters. She was aware that the meeting was being audio recorded. During the meeting, the parental complaint letter of reprimand came up, in which Feldman repeated twice that the letter was not disciplinary. We're talking about the letter that I just told you that was disciplinary. And just to go back with that letter, the letter says, a letter of reprimand will be issued to the superintendent. So any letter that goes to a superintendent is a letter of reprimand. Just keep that in mind. It doesn't have to say letter of reprimand, but if it goes to the superintendent, it's a letter of reprimand. Okay. All right, so during the meeting, the a complaint letter of reprimand came up, in which Feldman repeated twice that the letter was not disciplinary. Yet the sworn statement in the tenure charges that I just read to you indicated just the opposite. So in her sworn statement, reading right from it, on December 20th, 2013, Mignone met with the principal of the Belleville Middle School. Mignone was disciplined for failing to meet district standards and a lack of professionalism in his dealing with parents. A letter of reprimand was placed in his personal file. So we have a contradiction. We have an audio tape that says one thing, and we have a sworn statement that says quite the opposite. Approximately 1 week later, my attorney wrote a letter to the business administrator stating that the Superintendent Feldman perjured herself on a sworn statement. On January 27, 2014, the board came together to discuss my employment status. On January 31st, 2014, I received a letter stating that my tenure charges and, coincidentally, the sworn statement were withdrawn and revised, and new charges would follow. Makes you say, right? Okay. On February 4th, I entered the high school. Let's say 31st, yep, on February 4th. So we went from the 31st to the 4th. I entered the high school building to access my union office. I was conducting union business inside my office. Shortly after, Miss Feldman and Mr. Escott approached my office and requested that I leave the building. On February 10th, I received a letter from Ms. Feldman stating that I was not allowed access to district property without her prior consent, and it also stated that I had been forewarned on that date. Oh, on the date that I was suspended. So there's a letter that says that I was forewarned that I could not conduct union business inside the school district on the date I was suspended, which was January 2nd, which I had a representative there, which the representative swore that she never heard that statement. Nor was anything written that was issued either. Okay. That was wholly untrue. And I was not, and I was with the representative during that meeting. The rep took notes, and at no time did she mention that I was not allowed on district property. As a matter of fact, the question came up with me that, you know that I'm still the association president, and I will continue my duties as the association president. The tenure charges are against my professional aspect of the job, against teaching, not against being a union official. And she confirmed, said, oh, absolutely, we know that. On February 28, 2014, I was served with the revised charges. Okay. Revised charges. Now, you heard the last ones. A lot of conduct unbecomings, harassment, intimidation, bullying, discrimination, all that. Now we have revised ones. Sorry, I'm not prepared. Right on the page. Charge 1. Unbecoming conduct and other just cause. Okay, this one is about we're going back now, October write-up that was supposed to be withdrawn, that because I didn't want it to disappear, it kept going. So on that incident where the inappropriate conversation in the classroom with the students, talking about the surveillance system, that's this charge right here, unbecoming conduct and other just cause. And there's a couple counts. Count 1, unauthorized deviation from the prescribed curriculum. Count 2, I like that. I just saw that, unauthorized deviation from the I didn't even know we had a curriculum. Well, we don't have a district curriculum, that's for sure. Okay, count 2, using instructional time to discuss a labor union issue with students. Count 3, inappropriate expression of personal opinion to students about health risks. Well, in that charge, supposedly, I said something about health issues having to do with the badges that were issued, or were going to be issued. Count 4, inappropriate expression and personal opinion to students about invasion of privacy. Again, truth, there was some talk about surveillance system. Truth, it was brought up in the context of the lesson. Truth, the students brought it up. I only answer questions, and I thought that's what we were supposed to do as educators. Charge 2, unbecoming conduct and or other just cause. Okay, this is now, a little quick explanation, now that at the time, the administration thought there was only 2 members that were in that room at the time of that parent conversation, and then realized that there was 3, now the charges changed. So now there's a charge in there about something having to do with someone who's not that kid's student getting personal information about that student. Again, the conversation was not about the student, the conversation was to the parent, about the parent, and whatever was discussed in that conversation, I didn't bring anything up. Whatever the parent brought up, they brought up at their own will. But that's what that count is. I have to give you an explanation of that count, so we don't get too long on this. Count 2, threatening and intimidation of parents in order to secure personal gain. Again, I guess threatened and harassed a parent. Count 3, threatening to disrupt the special needs child's schedule. Asking for straws here, aren't we? Count 4, attempting or threatening to modify the educational program of a disabled student without following proper procedures. Count 5, inappropriately involving a union representative in a conference called in which the confidential matter of the student's disability was discussed. Again, we didn't bring up anything. We were there to talk to the parents. And count 6, willingly and knowingly deceiving a parent. Okay. Charge 3, unbecoming conduct and or other cause, including but not limited to insubordination. Okay. So insubordination. This whole insubordination charge is on the fact that supposedly the superintendent, which she did not, told me that I could not enter the building as a union representative. I could not have access to any building, to any of the buildings. That conversation never existed. Nothing was ever written. Nothing was ever said. Okay, and again, like I said, I have proof of all of this. So it would be really tough for me to lie about this. Okay, so therefore, that story being made up, the fact that I went to our union office in the high school was insubordination. I wasn't listening to the directive of the superintendent. So that's what that charge is all about. Okay, and then I think charge 5 is like, charge 5 says, not any one in particular would be a cause for a tenure, but all of them combined. So charge 5 is like a wrap-up of all of them. So if we take the insubordination, all the conduct unbecomings, maybe one of them doesn't do anything, maybe the second one doesn't really do anything, maybe 2 combined won't do anything, but all 5 of them are definitely clearly grounds for dismissal and or reduction of pay. Okay? All right. On February 28, 2014, that's the revised charges. On March 19, 2014, okay, so we're talking about 20 days later, 19 days later. The board voted 7-0 to certify my charges with the state. So all 7 members voted to certify my charges. March 20th, 2014, I received a letter from the Board of Education stating that my tenure charges were certified with the state and I was suspended now without pay. On March 23rd, 2014, I applied for unemployment and received notification from unemployment that the district was contesting my unemployment. So we know where this is going, okay? So, why do I give you all this information? Number 1, so we can stop the rumors. You heard everything. Number 2, I think after clearly hearing what was said today, we all know what the deal is. And exactly as our representative Christine said, this is a clear indication of union busting. That's what they're trying to do. If you could take out the leader of the union folds, and then we can have our will, okay? This is a fight that, as a whole, we're going to have to take on. This is not a fight that any one person can deal with. This is also a clear indication that with the new tenure laws, you know, there's no stipulation on tenure, okay? So with that being said, before I answer any questions, or actually before I review the rumors now that are going out, I would like to inform all of you that tenure is a reality in our world, and our only way to combat it is to become involved in the elections of our board members. That's the only way, guys. There's no other way out. If we think that just by sitting around and doing nothing and hoping and, you know, not going to happen. And it doesn't matter if you're not involved. Okay, we have a case right now of a member that's not involved that's finding himself suspended. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're not involved. You think that, oh, I'm just going to go home and do my job. Well, so did this person think they were just going to come to work, do their job, go home, and that's it. And, you know, it's not the reality in this district. So I think we all need to realize that staying quiet, being to yourself is not necessarily going to secure your job in any way. Okay? So this will be addressed later at the end with the introduction of this new committee that we have from Deanna when she does her presentation. But first, I just want to address some of the rumors. And there's some good ones, too, by the way. First of all, the affair. Okay, the rumor is that Mr. Mignone is being put on tenure charges because he's having an affair. First of all, I find that very insulting, just at the fact that someone would even start a rumor about me having an affair. But before we get to that point, you can't suspend somebody or hold them on tenure charges because they're having an affair. So that's just, I mean, you guys have to start using your common sense on some of this stuff and realize that some of this stuff it's all conjured up because the opposition sees you uniting and they're afraid. That's the bottom line, okay? Second of all, I wish my wife was here, but I love my wife very much. Matter of fact, I said the day I met her, and I say it now, I don't know what I did in God's eyes, but he sent me an angel. And that angel is there to look over me, and there is no way that I would embarrass her or myself or anything of that sort, any type of affair. So you can rest assured, you're hearing it from me, there is no affair. None. Conjured up lie. Very disgusting that we have to resort to that, some people. But kind of know who those people are. But nevertheless, I guess, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. Number 2, fired. No, I'm not fired. Matter of fact, I just received from my attorney that we have my 3 tenure hearing dates are going to be March 28th, May 28th, sorry. May 28th, June 2nd, and June 20th or 11th. I have it written down. Hold on, June 11th, I have it written down later. May 28th, June 4th, and June 11th. Now that's just for the hearing. Then the arbitrator has up to 45 days after that to come to draw some type of conclusion on whether or not, you know, he thinks there's any validity to what's happening. I can't project, from all honesty, that it would even last that long. But pretty much, if you're going until June 11th or the 3 dates, unless the arbitrator stops the arbitration any time in between, you probably got to figure you won't see me till the end of the year. You probably won't see me for the rest of this year. Okay? So when you don't see me for the rest of the year, don't think that the rumors that are going out, oh, Mike's fired. Not true. I have 3 dates guaranteed. Could go to 4 if need be. Could stop after 1 or 2. I mean, that's the arbitration process. Okay? And then after that last arbitration meeting, then the arbitrator has 45 days from there. So you're talking July. You know, I mean, they could draw a conclusion somewhere in July. Okay, they can judge that sometime in July. So keep that in mind. So if you don't see me for the rest of the year, in all likelihood, I won't be around as far as in the school district. But I'll be around, but I just won't be in the school district for the rest of the year. So I'm not fired. So we can end that resolution. I mean that rumor. 3, resigned. No, I didn't resign. and I'm not going to resign. I'm in this to the end. I have made that commitment to all of you that I could not sit here and I could not look at all of my colleagues that I have worked with for my 13 years, let alone how long you guys have been working here, and I cannot allow you to work under these conditions anymore. I can't. Anybody that knows anything about me knows that I'm not laying down. I'm not taking deals. I'm not going the back route. I'm not doing any of that. If that's what you want, if that's what they want, is a fight, then that's what we're here for. Then that's what we have to do. We would rather not. We'd rather resolve everything amicably. That's what we should be doing, and that's what we would like to do. But it seems like we're in it for the haul, for the long haul. Okay, so just to keep a quick note, you know, we need to get that out. We need to inspire our members that, listen, we have to stay together. We stay together, there's nobody gonna, as soon as someone puts something in your ear and tells you this or that, and you become weary, they got you. They got you. So when they start saying, oh yeah, Mignone, he got fired, I don't know what you're looking at, you know, you're not even being represented. And you believe that, or you even have I don't know, I think Mike would have told me that already, and I will. I will tell you everything that happens. There's no doubt. I mean, I just gave you full testimony here. All the truth. So I will tell you that. So if someone comes up to you and tells you those stories, you can rest assured they're not true. If they didn't come from me, they're not true. Okay? And that's the whole idea. It's the smoke and mirrors, ladies and gentlemen. It's the whole idea of, let's put it out there. Let's mix things up. Let's get people talking. Let's get people out of focus. And then we'll win this battle. But it's desperate. That's desperation is what it is. Because I think through Belleville United, we've aligned a coalition, and a very strong coalition, and we, as the Belleville Education Association, are part of that coalition. And last but not least that I have, before I open up for a few questions, is the recent rumor I heard is that some survey being passed around about when was the last time you voted for your association president or executives. Okay. We do everything by the bylaws. We don't cut corners. We don't, skip through it. We don't do any backdoor deals. That's not what we do. We stay on the up and legit, okay? The reason why none of you have voted for me is because there was no one else who wanted to run. So, don't look like I won any big prize here. I was kind of hoping somebody else would run. I was trying to recruit my own people to run, but nobody wanted to do it, okay? So, therefore, once that happens, then the vote goes before your rep council. And the rep council, I'd have to go back, but it was, I don't think there was any abstentions. We have all this written down. Any abstentions or any, it was 100%. Because everybody's pretty much saying, better you than me, So, yeah, absolutely, you can do it. So, just keep that in mind. And none of our members, none of our exec committee members went, all went uncontested. So once that happens, there is no vote that actually comes to the school. So, try to, again, I think we've posted those also now on our website under the members only section, where you can go and look at our bylaws and our constitution. Because that's going to be a good explanation, and you'll understand. You won't take what somebody tells you who doesn't know. See, the people that are telling you this, they have no idea what the Constitution is. They have no idea. They don't even know if there is a Constitution. They don't know anything about the bylaws. So they're throwing this stuff out, and they have no prior, knowledge of it. So I think it's up to you to now go back and take a look. Say, what does our bylaws say about electing our, exec members, our officials and all that. So take a look at that. That's all there for you, but there was nothing violated. Okay? So we have a few minutes. That's it, because I have to let Deanna talk. So can I get a couple questions?
Is there some way we can support you other than being involved in these committees? Can we do something to show how upset we are about what's happening to you in another format?
Okay, I love that. Absolutely. And I'd like to draw, again, the attention away from me, because I'm not in this predicament because of any other reason, but I chose to be in this predicament. So please don't feel sorry for me. Take a look at yourselves and realize that the worst thing that can happen to you is me being dismissed because now you're on your own. I mean, that's the grim reality of it. Now you're on your own because, they've just dismantled the union, and now the horror that you're dealing with now will worsen. So I feel more for you guys than I feel for myself. So let's redirect that question on what can we do for us to better our situation? All right, I'm going to start off with, we have a strong coalition, and our coalition loves the fact that the teachers are backing them. We go to board meetings, we have about 100 teachers, which is nice. I mean, they all complement that. But to me, you have 430 members. You should have 200 at every board meeting. And I mean every board meeting starting this month, April, May, and June. Okay, it's only 3 more left. So I would say, go to your members, tell them to clear their schedules, look for when the board meetings are going to be, and clear your schedule for those board meetings, and be there and be supportive at these board meetings. Number 1, you're going to learn a lot. Number 2, you're going to see what your executive committee is doing for you, okay? Again, we've talked a lot about the intimidation that's going on in this district, a lot. We've hammered the Board of Education and the superintendent on this intimidation tactics of governing a school district, okay? We hammered them on that. And I would love for all of you to see that because we are sticking up and we are standing for all of us. We're not standing for our own, we're standing for all of us. So I would say start with board meetings, absolutely. I would definitely say that we are going to be introducing quite a few more committees, and they're great because they're great to be involved in. Like, we absolutely need an evaluation committee. We absolutely need people that are going to school themselves on evaluation and help us out so that when we get these evaluations coming in, because that's the next method of being able to attack union members is through the evaluation system, that we have a stronghold on it. Proactive. No administrator, no board member will ever be more intelligent than 400 teachers. Okay? None of them will. And secretaries. None will be more intelligent than 430 teachers and secretaries. So keep that in mind. Collectively, they can't outwit us. So when these committees come up, I would love it if people would start to join these committees. Our Pride Committee grew to about 9 members. Our Communication Committee is like 9 members. And we have this new committee that's now 9 members at the end. I'm going to introduce Deanna in a second. Anyone else with questions?
Mike, where did they get all the information against you? Where did that come from? That one parent?
I know the one parent was involved. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Video surveillance on another.
I can answer it.
Okay, thank you.
When the tenure charges are filed, Mike read you the charges, but then there's sworn affidavits that support all of the charges. So this is a culmination of parents, students, administrators, superintendent, that all certify that these charges have merit. And then our job is to then dispute all of those items. Am I answering your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. How do they know what you said in your classroom?
Did they use audio? Is
Did they
what
use the
I think
audio?
she's trying to ask. Like, did they maybe use that?
Like,
if
how
they're
do they know that
so
you
sure?
deviated from the curriculum?
Yeah.
How do they know that? They can't know
That's-
that unless they're listening, and aren't they not supposed
They're
to
not
do
supposed
it?
to use it.
I actually don't think they used audio for that. I know they interviewed most of the students in Mike's class.
Really?
Yes. So that, again, if I thought they used audio, I would be very honest with you. I know that they interviewed however many students you have.
Yeah, but I think the question is before you interview those students, where did you get the initial?
Right.
I think that's what it is. In other words, you're not just going to go interview students, you're going to get some type of inclination that something happened, and I really can't answer that. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I mean, when you start looking at that early time, there was a complaint that was made to someone, and they did start interviewing. I do not think they used the audio for that purpose.
Did they use the video?
I don't know that.
If they did, was it legal for them to do that?
They're saying everything they do is legal.
Well,
We're saying everything they do is illegal. So I guess we have to always
legality's out the window.
and look at right, and that's what we're fighting right now. That's what we're fighting.
Is the arbitration binding?
Arbitration is binding, yes, absolutely, yeah. And it's, if you think about it, this is the new tenure, so used to be you had your time with the judge, which is not, which is pretty, legit. Now you have an arbitrator. The arbitrators are lawyers, correct?
Some are.
Some are,
Most are.
Okay, so it's like, a hearing from a legal aspect, but not from a judge themselves.
And through the arbitration process, there's a list. So there's 20 people on this list right now throughout the state. And as a tenure charge comes up, it goes to the next person on the list. And if that person is too busy or away, because the timeline is very strict, then that person's name is crossed off and it goes to the next person. So it's not like a normal grievance process that we have input on the arbitrator. You are assigned the arbitrator. That was part of the agreement with this new tenure process.
And could it be an arbitrator in this area? Could it wind up being an arbitrator in this area?
I don't think any are from this area. I don't think they are, but I can certainly look.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know when I did insurance, but is arbitration bindings in insurance, the insurance company our attorney would pick one, and the attorney for the other party would pick an arbitrator.
No,
is it binding? Is it similar to that, or is it a little bit different?
That's the way arbitration goes when you're dealing with grievances. When you're dealing with tenure, it's different.
All right,
Tenure is binding,
tenure is
grievance.
just binding, so when they make their decision, it's binding?
Yes, that's right.
Binding.
So what can we do as a union to, and I know you don't want to hear for you, but to help you? I mean,
Again, let's keep it all of us, because again, what I'm trying to stress, and that's why I'm going to introduce Deanna on this, because this is, what Deanna's going to introduce, that's how you can help everybody. Okay, that's how we're going to be able to help all of us, is what Deanna's going to introduce. So if there's no other questions, I would absolutely love to, this is the perfect time to introduce Deanna Arena.
Hi, everyone. It's said within every problem lies an opportunity. I'm here today to talk to you about the problems that you all know about and the opportunity that you don't know about. And there is an opportunity here. We can make things better. Things were very different when I started here at Belleville 10 years ago. I used to love coming to work, and it was a family atmosphere at the high school. Everyone, administrators, secretaries, aides, custodians, teachers, we all respected and supported each other. It was fun coming to work back then. Do any of us ever, can we ever forget Mr. Petrillo's announcements? The magic mirrors? While Belleville was never an affluent district, my students' needs were always met. And we were encouraged. It was a learning environment, not just for the students, but for us. I remember back then my supervisor, Joanne Kessel, used to look up PD and trip opportunities for me. And she used to say, go on this. We'll pay for you. I remember it really hit me at one of the meetings this year as we sat there and they told us, don't even ask to go on PD because we cannot afford to get you a sub. Don't even ask to go on school trips because we can't afford buses or someone to cover for you that day. And I thought, how sad that things have changed this much that we're told not even to ask. My students always had adequate supplies back then, and we were able to do what we were hired to do, teach. But now, it's become harder and harder to do our jobs. This district has been shackled by recent budget choices. The problems are different at every school. There are the overcrowded classrooms, the outdated computers, many so old that they accept floppy disks. There are the classes that don't even have basic supplies, like paper or writing utensils. I know I put in for 2 boxes of pens this year and I received 2 pens. And that's not a joke, it's the truth. A lot of us don't talk to the elementary school teachers, but being involved with this, I've spoken to them a lot. And I am appalled that many of our elementary schools do not have textbooks for their children. Literally do not have textbooks. The teachers are told to make photocopies of sections of the textbooks and hand them out to their students. But most of the time the copy machines are broken, so they can't even give them that. These are little kids we're talking about. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was your child? We have tried again and again to voice our concerns, but our words have fallen on deaf ears. There was no explanation as to why we don't have money in our budget for basic supplies. In fact, the only time the word budget is mentioned to us is when it precedes the word freeze. How many times have we heard the word freeze this year? Budget freeze, purchasing freeze. It's been a long, frosty year. Despite all of this, we have a surveillance system so expensive and high-tech that only a few other schools in this nation have systems to match it. Why would a district whose budget is so limited that they can't even afford basic supplies for their students choose to spend money on such a high-tech surveillance system? Doesn't it make you wonder? Now let's talk about the abrupt transfers of staff. Teachers who are veterans in a certain grade level or subject were taken out of their schools. Administrators shifted from school to school, sometimes in the middle of the year. Anyone who works in a school district knows firsthand how detrimental it is to a child's education to lose the teacher or administrator they've grown to love and respect. And what about the negative effects on us? It is a fact that students will not learn unless they're in an environment that they feel is stable and safe. Tell me, how is it possible for us to provide such an environment when we are forced to work in a district that chooses to rule by fear and intimidation? How can we make our children feel secure when we have to live with the fact every day that our positions are anything but that? While it's apparent that these negative consequences on us and the children are not a concern, as things continue to get worse. The entire purpose of a school district should be to create a positive and productive learning environment. Why is that not a priority at Belleville? While I can't answer that question, this is what I can tell you. It is clear that there is a huge disconnect between what we as educators and the current board thinks are priorities for our students. It's frustrating, it's wrong, and it has gone on for far too long. So how can we solve these problems? How can we make sure that our voices are heard? Well, this is where the opportunity that I mentioned comes in. Belleville's Voice of Teachers in Education, or BVOTE, is a political action committee dedicated to the following goals. BVOTE's objective is to find, screen, and fundraise for quality, pro-education candidates to run for the Board of Education election in November. Political action committees are hardly a new concept. In fact, many local districts, such as Wayne and Edison, have successful strong committees, and Belleville can have one too. But it's going to take all of us to work together to make this happen. For this to work, we need your support. You can help in many ways, by suggesting pro-education candidates, by attending our upcoming fundraisers, or by making a donation. Right now, I'm going to have Christy pass around the information. It has our email address and our P.O. box. Also, before you leave, there is an email sign-up sheet at the door. I hope that all of you at least give your emails so that you can stay informed and involved. In order to work, we must stand united. We need to find elected officials who respect us and who are willing to listen to us, not find new ways to frighten or silence us. That's not the way that school districts should be run, and that's not the way that Belleville should be. In order to make things better at Belleville, we can no longer remain silent. The only way to make things right is to have our voices heard. More than ever, we need to rely on each other once again and get back to what made us love Belleville in the first place. Let's start today. Just on off the page. All the time, I feel like there's such a defeated attitude. Everyone goes around and it's, how you doing? You know, hanging in. Like, victims of war. That's not how it should be. And I think everyone has just accepted this idea that there is nothing we could do, and we just have to wait and continue to suffer and continue to watch things getting worse. That's not true. But the only way we can do this is if we really start counting on each other again. And get people who respect us. And get people who are going to listen to us. There is no other way. I don't know about all of you, but I cannot continue to work in a district that abuses its employees like this. And we have to stop that defeated attitude, because it's not true. There's a lot we could do. And by not doing anything, that's giving them permission to keep doing it. So, I would like to